like the way we live present in the society, what is required for this organism is an equilibrium with itself, with nature. We are a product of nature, and this was the case for millions and millions of years. There is a rhythm of life, there is a systematic equilibrium, there is night comes, and the whole organism evolved in such a way that that is the pattern of biology that is governed the system's health and functioning. So for human, it gradually changed over the hundreds and hundreds of years. It's changed now, but the framework and the biology that controls all these things didn't change much. Okay, and maybe the external world changed, and accordingly the internal system that needs to keep itself in equilibrium with the external world gradually changed. Like our ancestors, whatever they used to eat, if we eat that, finish. We won't be able to digest those food. And like that, but it adapted biologically, gradually over the time. But mainly what happened is that the time that is required for the neurobiological circuitry to wire itself in such a way that it is again functional next day requires time. Okay, just the way you eat food, the time it's required for the system to extract the nutrients from that food and reject whatever is not necessary needs time. Okay, there is a rhythm. There is, so as our information circuitry, which is governed by the balance of the neurotransmitters and all these things. So it turns out that the whole system is such that it's always something is overdue. The resting and the equilibrium, that it's like you are using a computer, you don't have time to delete. Gradually, suddenly, it's overloaded. But this is like something by itself for itself. So there is an internal drive. So that is whatever we think, the subject matter of the thought process is not really important to the system. The system needs to free itself from all conflict, all what you call this, the pressure, everything. Just the way you don't like any pain. Nobody. The body rejects pain mechanism. Similarly, any internal trouble, the body rejects it. The only way it can do its best job is when you are sleeping. That is when the neurobiological circuitry begins to work your memories. Memories are extremely important for the system because it's the information world that is creating an impact in you. Somebody tells you something bad, you are agitated. Somebody tells you something good, you seek for such things, that rewards and punishment. So all these things are creating local memories, and there is an extreme need and necessity for the system to process those memories, short-term memories, and over the years it it understands what is important for itself and filters those into long-term memory and rejects everything, just like the computer circuits. Okay? For that it needs time. And it cannot do this job when you are awake and using the brain constantly. It needs to, and when it does the much core rejuvenation, that is extremely important, which you don't know, it puts you into a deep sleep. In the deep sleep, you have no awareness of yourself, absolutely no dream, nothing, because that is the time it does, you are not even there. Okay? But this is doing its job. Just the way when you're sleeping, it's taking the most fantastic nutrients from the food and giving you health and nutrition that is required. So you see, in this cycle, it has a requirement. And because often we can't even, so much of conditioned response of the information that we have, it doesn't have time to process. You need 6, 7, 8 complete sleep cycles to have all this sorting out. And if you have that, next morning you'll be really feeling good. Because everything is vital, the organisms is well, and you will have an, without understanding it's feeling good, because the system is good, it did its job, your bowel movement is perfect, no after effect of the food or drinks, it's normal, that's what it wants. So this has an organic necessity to keep the system completely, basically it is addressing its core well-being all the time. And if somebody's system, the neurobiological circuitry which is used to use the information is like, we call it conditioning, and in Sanskrit they call samskara. Simple, exactly same thing, not except the Indians thinks about a little more about the past life samskaras. There is no such thing as far as I am concerned, but there is the conditioning could be not just limited to your lifetime. In a sense, there are many things that your system is acquired, which is handed down by the generations of your ancestors, biologically, genetically. And now your system is ready to accept the language, culture, and understanding of the culture that is handed down by the centuries of cultural growth. So in that way, you did not come here with absolutely nothing and learnt everything. Your brain is already prepared to learn human language, which a primate cannot do. So, and what it will take, what it's going to take it from the thousands of years of culture that has crystallized into very deep meaning, feelings and everything. Okay, so it's an extremely arduous task for the system to keep you healthy and address your well-being. Fundamental necessity. How much you think about your money, your love, your health, whatever you think about, this has no concern. Thinking will give a very specific emotional tagging into the body that will create a conditioning, and the brain is going to now handle the conditioning by responding. And when these things are being challenged by a particular brain, okay, and not accepting the norm, not accepting the society's oppression, not accepting the social regulation. It's a tremendous struggle. It's beyond a common man's understanding what the struggle is when you are trying to find out that what they are telling has no reality and you are forced to accept it. It's the pressure that comes from within, the disturbance and the power of that what comes from within to challenge such thing is also enormous. And when something happens at that time, it's calamitous in a sense that it's a deep disturbance. When you are attacked by a very dangerous virus, if the body somehow can fight it, it's a tremendous effect. It's a matter of life and death. Your system, immune system, is fighting with tooth and nail to keep you healthy, and the virus is trying to completely overtake. Okay? It's not very different from neurobiological circuitry, if the fight is like that. If the information that is being accepted from centuries are being challenged from within, the information repertoire is going to throw it's like a volcanic eruption. It will be a process, and the thing is that this system has certain aspects during that time it does activate. It's like when a woman becomes pregnant, it's a whole different chemistry in the body. And it was never there. It was completely unknown to that system. Okay? And there are many neurobiological circuitry that are responsible for responding such a challenge in the neurobiological circuitry. That includes, there are places in the brain which controls the chemistry of the neurotransmitters that maintains even the processing of the information into a meaningful world inside you. That what you see, that what all the information comes through your as sound, as visual input, to process them appropriately, there are always neurotransmitters which are controlled by different glands. There are pituitary glands, there is pineal. Pineal gland has a different kind of equilibrium. Then there are other glands in the body who are very well connected to the neurobiology of the information processing. And they will not be activated until such demand occurs or some transition occurs.
So it means it follows, it comes from behind. Yeah. So the mind, the memories, the thinking governs us.
Yeah, it's not governed, it is a process that goes on. Some systems are primed to function in a different way. In different way means like there are 5 boys, you give a problem, she's a teacher, everybody will take it in a different intensity. Now, what is responsible for that is another kind of research. How one guy will take a program, a challenge, and will not do anything until he finds a solution. He can even forget food, clothes, shelter, friends, relatives, everything. The other guy will not even bother about it. So that variations are there within us. It's an ubiquitous nature of us. We are different. So in some certain pressure is unacceptable. For some other, they take it as a status quo. Why? That's another anthropological research. These variations are the name of the game. Why a tree produces billions of seeds and only a few other tree comes out of it. It's a biology and statistics and the life. Why it is? Probably if you really do a research, you will find out there was no other alternative for that particular species. There are certain moments when there is a momentum of the information that is, thinking is something that you directly, indirectly want. You want to understand, you want to sort out certain problem, there are some other matters that you haven't resolved, now you want to resolve that. Always there is a demand. And this demand has become kind of a momentum. It's like an asha. It's not fault or anything. It's like, if you don't have that demand, you feel you are bored. It's not so. This system wants that. But by habit because through thinking only, what we know as feeling good after a successful thought structure is the neurobiological reward for us. And it seeks that out of thinking. If you could, you would keep on thinking, entertaining yourselves, but thing is that you can't. Your body after certain things is going to knock you out. Because the organic necessity is way more stringent. So whenever this demand is being thwarted, like suppose you are with a particular individual where your thought patterns are now focused. I have seen this, like when we used to be with you, soon people would convert their thinking into a very specific mode. What is that I am going to ask? Okay, and what is important? So what happened? The regular, usual, disturbing, like random patterns of thinkings are being suspended at that time, because you are focused, you are pretty serious at that time without your knowledge. Okay, the attention is being drawn to deal with something that is very important to yourself without your knowledge. It's not the knowledge game you are playing with your friends. You go to a bar and talk about soccer and all. It's not like that. It's kind of to me it's a biological, organic necessities of information processing that can address the system's long-term well-being. And that is very narrow. And often it's not even known. Often if somebody asks you, what is it that you really want other than money?
That remains a mystery.
No, seriously, so you see how narrow and stringent and focused line of thinking is, and because it's not thought about so much in various ways, it does not find a way to get lost for itself. Like, I sit there, people are talking, I go to my own thought reverie, like I went there, that place was so nice. But your attention is drawn, you can't do that. So now the movement, what is thought is nothing but the movement in the consciousness, in a sense that it's a ruffling, it's a kind of a movement, and behind the movement there is a direct or indirect intention. If somehow the intention doesn't understand what it needs or what it really wants, it begins to suspend itself. And without the intention, when the intention is suspended, thoughts become very passive. It doesn't have much impact on the system. It drains lot less energy. And that's what it wants. It wants to keep the system going with minimum energy drain, so that your system gets a chance to revitalize itself. And I've experimented these things a lot. I've spent quite a number of years with him. And it's like, so what happened is, it is not something that I can make anybody understand. It is almost like giving you the taste of coffee which you never had. I'm telling simply, it is not a matter that can be explained away by using the information itself, which you do not have a direct experience with. You can only compare, okay, it may be like a little bit of tea, but it's not tea, man. And then you keep searching something that man has taken, but very close to coffee. You say, no, I didn't try this. So it will be kind of a
mystical.
So that's why it is something that is not, and so ultimately that's what I came down to, like, it is not something that, it's not discovering a fundamental reality through a theoretical paradigm, writing, and all we know, all our calculus equations and everything. So this is proved, so this is it, it's not like that. The subject is very important in this function. And so it's a subjective functional reality. Functional reality, the reality that has been perceived by an individual and found a reference. You really tasted coffee, although you don't know what you cannot tell anybody what coffee tastes unless somebody else tastes the coffee. Then you come to a common mode of expression that, okay, coffee tastes like that. Most of the tastes are they're fundamental, like sweet. You gave a name to a particular sensation as sweet or sour or hot. It's the nomenclature to make each other understand that this is similar. Otherwise, it's not something that you can talk, or you can explain by using the informations only. So this functional reality is the most important as far as I'm concerned. I don't call it, it's qualitative and phenomenological. Like, you touch fire, you have a relationship with fire. Okay, you may not know how to express it. Okay, but you have a relationship with that. Nature, most of the nature, that even a kid, when he or she is growing up, the way its brain is being processed to deal with the gravitation when he is learning to stand is a functional reality for that individual brain. There is no explanation, there is nothing, is not required, nothing. It is just completely that individual have a relationship with the nature, with the mother nature, with the earth, and its brain is completely perceiving, aligning itself, and gradually after 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 falls, the brain is now mastered itself how to stand up on 2 feet. Many things with us and its functioning with nature is this kind of phenomenology. So as you're feeling good, feeling bad, liking somebody, disliking somebody, feeling attracted towards something, rejected towards something else, there may be a lot of biological conditioning there through your genetic makeup and everything, but there are also a lot of nurture, the way you have been grown up by exposing yourself to such things. You need that because your system is so complicated. To master it, you take longer time. So your mother is there behind you all the time. Because at the end of your mother's care, you got to know a lot. That's a part of the evolutionary process that gives this particular species a very separate kind of movement. You cannot compare yourself with anything in this planet. Why a bird could fly very high up, lays the egg before it touches the ground, it hatches and flies. Why another bird sits there on it for 15 days to have everything evolved in a very specific way. So are we. That's why mom is after me. But it continued even after I grew up. So what do you call is psychology? To me, it's a part of the brain's ability to process the information. So it needs lot of priming from the childhood. You know, a small kid will hurt the other kid. They don't know what's good or if they have a knife, they can scratch another kid. All these things had to be taught, and they are learning from the peers or from the mother, father, from teacher. That's because the language processing is a massive task, and it takes a long time.
It was always a question nowadays that whether the mind is a part of the brain and it's separate something from it.
Yeah. So the thing is that
nowadays when
it's a
fMRI
point
machines-
of view. It's a point of view.